What if the person at the center of a national controversy wasn't just any citizen, but the most powerful law enforcement official in the country? And what if that official was a woman, someone who had spent decades fighting for justice and reform? How does systemic racism play out when even someone with immense authority can't escape its grip? If you are enjoying this story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments, literally anywhere in the world. Also, hit that subscribe button to stay updated, and drop your thoughts below. Your voice matters. Thanks for being here. In a quiet suburb outside Philadelphia, FBI Director Maria Thompson was driving home after a grueling day. Known for her relentless pursuit of fairness and transparency within the Bureau, Maria believed deeply in justice for everyone. But on this particular evening, she found herself face to face with the very system she'd vowed to improve. The statistics in this small town are sobering. Black drivers are nearly 4 times more likely to be pulled over than white drivers. Let that sink in for a moment, 4 times. In a place where equality should be the norm, these numbers tell a different story. Maria was cruising through familiar streets when 2 local police officers approached her car. They claimed she had run a stop sign, though there was no evidence to support their accusation. One officer made racially charged comments so blatant they could have come straight out of history books we thought were closed. When Maria calmly identified herself as the FBI director, things didn't de-escalate, they escalated. Instead of verifying her credentials, the officers ordered her out of the car at gunpoint, hurling insults that no human deserves to hear. A bystander recorded the whole thing, capturing every word, every tense moment. That video would change everything and nothing at the same time. The next morning, the video went viral. Social media erupted with hashtags like #JusticeForThompson and #RacismExposed. People couldn't believe their eyes. How could this happen to the FBI director, of all people? For many, especially those who've experienced similar treatment firsthand, it wasn't surprising at all. This was just another reminder that privilege doesn't shield you from racism, it only highlights how deeply ingrained these biases are. As public pressure mounted, the DOJ launched an immediate investigation into the officers involved. Preliminary reports showed no evidence of running a stop sign, confirming what Maria had said all along. Protests popped up outside police stations and government buildings. Calls for accountability grew louder, but so did voices questioning Maria herself. Some conservative commentators argued that she shouldn't have provoked the situation by showing her badge or demanding respect. Others pointed out that if a white man in her position had been treated the same way, there'd be outrage in the streets already. Inside the FBI, opinions were divided. While some agents rallied behind Maria, others whispered about whether she'd mishandled the encounter. Critics claimed her reaction reflected poorly on her leadership skills, saying the director of the nation's top law enforcement agency should know better than to escalate tensions even if the officers were wrong. These criticisms stung, not just because they felt unfair, but because they echoed the same double standards Black Americans face every day. Would a white FBI director have faced the same scrutiny? Before we move forward, take a moment to think. How do you feel about the criticism Maria received? Do you think it's fair to judge leaders differently based on their race or background? The team behind this documentary will be right here in the comments, ready to chat and hear your thoughts. We're eager to engage with you because stories like this belong to all of us. The investigation concluded with the officers being placed on administrative leave pending further action, but the damage to Maria's career was already done. Despite widespread public support, internal pressure within the FBI intensified. Critics argued that her reaction during the incident, though justified, didn't align with the image of calm leadership expected from the director. Days later, the FBI board announced Maria's resignation, citing her inability to maintain composure under pressure as a liability for the Bureau. The decision sent shockwaves through the nation. Supporters saw it as a betrayal, a clear example of double standards. Protesters gathered outside FBI headquarters, demanding answers. Meanwhile, Maria struggled privately, grappling with feelings of injustice and frustration. She knew she'd become a symbol, a reminder of how far we still have to go in addressing systemic racism, even at the highest levels. In the months that followed, Maria stepped away from the limelight, but she didn't fade into silence. She became a leading voice for police reform and racial equity. Her memoir, Breaking the Badge, laid bare the complexities of leadership in a racially divided society. In speeches and interviews, Maria emphasized the need for empathy and accountability, urging law enforcement agencies to confront their biases head-on. The officers involved eventually faced disciplinary action, though charges were slow to materialize due to legal hurdles. Their suspension sent a message, but many argued it wasn't enough. The incident sparked broader conversations about training protocols and the use of force, leading to new legislation aimed at reducing bias in policing. Still, progress was incremental, and frustrations lingered. Maria's legacy grew beyond the FBI. She founded an organization dedicated to mentoring young leaders of color, teaching them how to navigate systems designed to hold them back. Her son, once teased over the controversy, found his own voice as an activist, inspired by his mother's resilience. Together, they became symbols of hope, a reminder that even in defeat, there's room for growth and change. As the dust settled, Maria reflected on the irony of her situation. A woman tasked with enforcing justice had become a victim of injustice herself. Yet, she remained hopeful. Change doesn't come easy, she often said. But if we keep pushing, keep talking, and keep acting, maybe one day, stories like mine won't make headlines. So, what do you think is the biggest takeaway from Maria's story? Do you believe real change is possible within institutions like the FBI and local police departments? Let us know in the comments, we'd love to hear your thoughts. This story isn't just about one person's struggle, it's about all of us learning to create a fairer, more equitable world. Thank you for joining this conversation, and stay tuned for more stories that challenge and inspire.